We'll tell you what the Andrews government won't. The nursing home nightmare that's claimed 15 lives. The youngest of the fallen 4 police officers laid to rest in a heartbreaking farewell. New details on the AFL's comeback as the Chief Health Officer signals a return to the field. And later, help in the fight to force airlines to pay refunds on cancelled flights.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. Victoria's police force is reeling over the leak of shock photos of former AFL coach Dean Laidley as he was being questioned inside a station. One officer has been suspended and now faces the threat of jail over what senior police describe as an appalling breach of privacy.
It's the arrest that's exploded into a scandal. Hours after Dean Laidley was charged with stalking, photos of him in custody shared on social media, showing him wearing a dress and a blonde wig. Now it's the police investigating their own.
This is one of the most appalling breaches, and I cannot recall a breach of someone's privacy like this.
A senior constable who was not involved in the arrest is accused of taking the photo during the 53-year-old's police interview. His mugshot also photographed.
It was an idiotic thing to do, it's an unacceptable thing to do, and I can't understand how people can't believe that's not going to get distributed to anyone.
It's claimed the officer shared the pictures with 6 other people. He's been suspended on full pay, possibly facing criminal charges including unauthorised disclosure of information. The penalty up to 2 years jail.
It's a breach of trust with the community. It's a breach of our values. It's unlawful and criminal conduct.
Lawyers believe Dean Laidley could sue for damages.
Look, I think it's serious because there are elements of transphobia involved in the salacious release of these photographs.
In a podcast just last week, the North Melbourne Premiership hero and former coach admitted to struggling with COVID-19 restrictions.
Then you're stuck at home because nothing's open, and then you don't have footy. So I'm actually breaking my neck for it to start.
The father of 3 remains in custody, facing stalking charges and committing an offence while on bail. Former AFL teammates are in shock.
You think about his family as well and what they're going through. So, concern for everyone involved.
For anyone else sharing the photos, this message from a stunned senior officer.
Have some respect, have some decency, do the right thing by the person whose images these are and delete them.
Professional Standards Command investigators are examining the phone of the Security-based senior constable. They're doing that to confirm who the photos were sent to and if any of those people could face charges too. IBAC, the anti-corruption body, has been notified about the investigation, but at this stage are not actively involved, Mitch.
Cameron Bowe at St Kilda, thank you. There's been an explosion of confirmed coronavirus cases at the meat processing plant that the Andrews government refuses to name, even though it's at the centre of one of the state's worst clusters. The Cedar Meats Abattoir has been linked to 19 new cases, taking the total to 34, and workers have told 7 News their fears were dismissed.
Nominated for a business award 5 years ago, the founder of Cedar Meats bragged about his company's commitment to its workers.
We work as a team, from the top to the bottom.
But it's now at the centre of one of Victoria's biggest outbreaks of coronavirus, with 34 known cases. Of the 22 new cases in Victoria overnight, 19 are related to Cedar Meats. 2 are returned travellers and 1 is still being investigated. The first case at Cedar Meats is believed to have come to light 11 days ago. There's no evidence the disease can be spread through food or packaging, but the factory remained open until last Thursday. A worker has told 7 News employees were worried a week ago about their exposure, but were ignored.
It's not a risk to the general community and it's not going to get out of control, and it is shut down. So I think, it's been handled extremely well.
The government still hasn't officially named Cedar Meats, which 5 years ago made a donation to the Labor Party.
Why was this one business treated so differently from every other place that's had an outbreak? And what effect did the $15,000 donation to the Labor Party have on that decision?
But the Premier and Chief Health Officer say facilities are named only if the public needs to be warned.
That's not a judgment that's made by any minister. That is a judgment that's made by the public health team.
The good news from today's figures, we're on track to reach the target of 100,000 tests. 55,000 have been conducted in the past week, 13,000 yesterday alone.
That is a magnificent effort, and I really can't say enough just how pleased and proud and grateful I am.
So far, just a handful have tested positive, suggesting a low rate of community transmission. And that means a higher chance some of the toughest restrictions might soon be lifted. Now, National Cabinet will meet again tomorrow to discuss lifting those restrictions. They'll then make some decisions on Friday. Our rules remain the toughest in the country, and there'll still be no change here before May the 11th. So Mother's Day will still look very different for us this year. But the Premier has hinted that he might give us some details about what those changes might look like over the next few days. Mitch.
Good. Thank you, Laurel. Laurel Irving reporting. Coronavirus fears have forced the closure of another suburban police station. Oakley Police Station was shut after 2 officers came into contact with someone who tested positive while at work. The pair is now in isolation awaiting their own test results. Police say the station has been fully cleaned and there's no risk to the public. There's no sign of our children heading back to the classroom anytime soon as Daniel Andrews refuses to budge on his hard line on schools, regardless of the assurances from health experts across the nation. It's a far cry from other states where students will start to return next week.
For most parents, Victorian schools remain a no-go zone. But in other states, there's a plan and a lifeline.
And I know there's a lot of people who've been waiting for this, including my family members.
In Queensland, it's a staggered approach. The preps and senior students will return on Monday. Then all classrooms will reopen by the end of the month. But despite growing pressure, our Premier won't budge.
We don't want to have a cycle, if you like, where we've achieved good results, we let go some of these rules, too many of them too fast, for instance.
Fitzroy Community School continues to defy those rules. Principal Tim Berryman insists he's following the advice of the Chief Medical Officer.
We think that children are not high transmitters of this virus in the school environment.
Cleaners in protective gear remain on the job at Meadow Glen Primary School after one of its music teachers tested positive last Friday. 7 News can reveal the teacher was initially told he didn't need a test as his symptoms were mild. 3 weeks on, he tested positive. But medical staff have said he's no longer contagious and has fully recovered. Still, 2 staff members self-isolated but have since returned negative results. Tegan Dolling, 7 News.
One Melbourne school has decided if the students can't come to the class, the teachers would go to them. Staff from Edithvale Primary School did a drive-by to surprise children learning at home. The procession made its way through the whole school catchment. A nursing home cluster has claimed the life of another resident, taking the death toll to 15. Chris Reason has the latest, and Chris, it's being described as the Ruby Princess on land.
Pete, good evening to you. Well, those are the words of the family of 76-year-old Anne Fay, who passed away on the weekend. The family spoke exclusively with 7 News today, saying they are as angry as they are heartbroken, and that on a day that, yes, Newmarch recorded its 15th death today, a male with no immediate family members. And that also on a day when they instituted new health protocols there. They've now decided to test every single worker and health staffer that goes into the building at the beginning of each shift, as well as now separating all of the positive corona patients inside that facility. The Fay family, though, say they were only told about their positive test last week. 2 days later, Anne passed away. That pain compounded by the fact of a phone call last night where the Anglicare facility admitted that it may well have made a mistake and told them that a negative test could well have been a positive one. Peter.
Chris Reason in Sydney, thank you. The Prime Minister is preparing to map out the easing of lockdown restrictions, paving the way for more businesses to reopen. The wind back could also include reopening of travel between Australia and New Zealand.
Once busy shopping centres now virtually deserted.
Just very miserable.
Most closed, those who've remained open doing it tough.
We just can't wait to be back to the old days, you know what I mean?
The wait mightn't be too long.
We'd like to think within the next week or so that we would start to see retailers opening.
National Cabinet will discuss that tomorrow as it prepares to announce the first major easing of restrictions on Friday.
Of course we want shops to open. We want people to go back into the shopping centres.
Any reopening will be gradual, extending it to restaurants and bars, a 50-50 chance.
And it's very important that we all take baby steps.
One of those steps, encouraging people back into offices for 1 or 2 days a week, a gradual wind back of working from home as work on a vaccine continues.
It's entirely possible that by the end of this year or early next year, we will have a vaccine for COVID-19.
New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern will join tomorrow's National Cabinet video conference to discuss a possible easing of border restrictions between the two countries to create a trans-Tasman bubble, allowing travel between the two countries, but not for some weeks yet.
It's fair to say there are significant advantages for New Zealand in terms of a trans-Tasman bubble.
Mr Morrison also speaking with British Prime Minister Boris Johnson last night, canvassing Britain's support for an independent investigation into the pandemic, despite China's angry resistance. Mark Riley, 7 News.
There are new discrimination claims emerging from the coronavirus crisis, with an equal opportunity investigation underway into complaints that some shoppers are being refused service because they're wearing face masks.
You are allowed as a business owner to take precautions to prevent the spread of disease, but you can't just make that based on that assumption based on whether someone's wearing a face mask.
Officials say complaints are on the rise. A fourth police officer has been honoured in the final funeral after the Eastern Freeway tragedy. Constable Josh Presney was the youngest of the officers killed and was remembered for his devotion to policing and the Collingwood Football Club.
At the Xavier College Chapel, a heart-wrenching farewell from Constable Josh Presney's brother Alex, a police officer himself. He'd presented Josh with his badge when he graduated just last December. Only 10 people could attend the funeral. As friends gathered outside, it started with a Foo Fighters anthem blasting over loudspeakers.
Josh is my hero and I love him, and this song's for him.
Constable Presney had been with the Highway Patrol only 2 days, but left a lasting impression.
He will be forever a part of the Victoria Police family, and he will always, always, to us, be a hero.
Memorabilia of his beloved Magpies adorned Xavier Junior School, where he studied and his mother taught. Here, silent tribute from teachers, parents and pupils. Afterwards, they stood around stunned, like so many of us struggling to comprehend this tragedy.
As part of the mothers, we wanted to say from a mother's heart how heartbreaking this was.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
To brighter news now, and AFL players could resume training at their clubs next week. Tom Brown is tracking fast-moving developments, and Tom, this comes as Melbourne Storm Rugby League players head to the border to train.
Mitch, it's an interesting tale of the two codes, starting with the AFL. The clear message out of the league tonight: they need the downloads of the app to increase and community transmission to stay low to ensure National Cabinet gives it the next tick of approval on Friday. As far as rugby is concerned, well, the Victorian government has treated the NRL the same as the AFL, so they can train in groups of 10. The Melbourne Storm tonight and tomorrow will go to Albury to continue their training. As far as state health bosses go, Brett Sutton's the hardest nut to crack. Victoria's tough chief health officer open to training next Monday.
Could they train as early as next week, depending on your decision?
Oh, there's the potential for that, absolutely.
Rugby league's already heating up. Storm players back at the club for check-ups before heading to Albury tomorrow. The Victorian government denying a special request to train in groups of 10 here.
We've got the ability to bus, if you like, under strict rules and regs, or carpool with no more than two people.
The NRL chairman calling AFL bosses ill-informed after criticism of rugby league's bold restart plan.
We're focused on that. I'm not focused on the AFL. If they want to continue to look into our business, they're most welcome to.
Restricted training for AFL players should start Monday for 2 weeks, stepping up to full contact for a further 2 weeks, meaning footy, in theory, could restart the week starting June 8.
And they're racing.
And there is a novel plan to resolve a potential Cox Plate Grand Final conflict. The race could be held Friday night, the Grand Final Saturday or Saturday night. The MCG will only be free if the T20 World Cup is cancelled. Tom Brown, 7 News.
And we have plenty more footy coming up later with Tim Watson, including a catch-up with a St Kilda star. Good evening, Tim.
Good evening, Mitch. Yes, that's right. We're at home with Saints Vice-Captain Seb Ross discussing life in lockdown and footy's return. To shine the ball or not, could artificial ball tampering soon be allowed in cricket? And it almost looks real. The Formula One drivers are still, though, getting used to e-racing. Mitch, all that and more. I know how much you love your e-racing. We'll be back a little bit later.
So do you. Thank you very much indeed, Tim. The Westgate Tunnel project has run into trouble. Next, what it means for drivers. The details live. Also, the road rager with a smile and a stick. See how Donald Trump opened fire on China over the COVID-19 crisis. And high drama on an airliner as a mid-air argument forces an emergency landing.
Seven News, brought to you by Industry Superfunds.
I suddenly realized we're all in this together.
That feels especially true, given what's going on. It is good to know that our super will help us and our economy bounce back. And if you're with one of these, your super is invested in things that create jobs and keep Aussie businesses strong, delivering good long-term returns that benefit all of us. After all,
we're all in this together.
Very occasionally, someone comes onto the stage and you think they are born to be a superstar.
Took a job in the city.
Her voice will have the entire audience on their feet.
Absolutely brilliant.
The truly unforgettable performance.
Incredible.
We're celebrating the extraordinary.
This is what the world has been waiting for.
Brand new, Britain's Got Talent. Wednesday, 7:30 on 7.
It's horrible.
Shut up and take my money.
Wish you had internet that didn't let you down? That doesn't leave you hanging and won't have you missing any of the action? Get Vodafone NBN with 4G backup. Plans start from just $65 a month. And with free express delivery, connect instantly once you receive it. Buy online today at vodafone.com.au. Ready?
The game that makes the most millionaires is giving you 20 million more reasons to get super excited this Saturday. Tats Lotto's $20 million Super Draw Saturday. Play now in-store at thelot.com or the Lot app.
Introducing BP Rewards. Now you can earn points for every BP purchase.
BP Rewards.
Use BP points to spend in store.
BP Rewards.
Or get dollars off fuel.
BP Rewards. BP Rewards.
Or you can choose to earn Qantas points.
Now that's what I call BP Rewards. Totally BP Rewards.
Start earning today. BP Rewards. Your rewards, your way.
A lot of us are spending more time at home.
Ow.
Using a lot more electricity and internet. Unfortunately, iSelect can't help with your naked partner walking past your big presentation. But we could help shrink those household bills. Now's the time to compare, select and save with iSelect on 13, 19, 20.
Tasty, affordable and delicious. What's for dinner in the next break with Coles?
Melbourne's troubled Westgate Tunnel project has been hit by a new blow. Estelle Griepink has the details, and Estelle, there's another major delay.
Mitch, we won't be driving through it anytime soon. The $6.7 billion project has hit another speed bump and won't be opening on time. The deadline is now 2023 at the earliest. The Andrews government is blaming an ongoing dispute about contaminated soil and the coronavirus. Transport Minister Jacinta Allen says taxpayers won't be footing the bill for these delays.
As part of the contract that the government has with Transurban and in turn its builders CPB and John Holland, it's a fixed price contract and we will be holding Transurban to the letter of that contract.
And Mitch, the state government had promised that this project would be done by 2022. Obviously, that won't be happening now.
Estelle Griepink by the Westgate, thank you. A cyclist is in a serious condition after a smash in Melbourne's northeast. The rider collided with a sedan at Rosanna. The driver stopped to help and is assisting police with the investigation. A driver has smashed a car's side mirror in a road rage attack on a Sydney street. The man can be seen laughing while wielding his weapon. The passenger who filmed the attack said the angry driver had been set off by a minor traffic incident. Donald Trump is taking aim at China, ramping up his attack over the coronavirus outbreak. He lashed out as the US recorded its deadliest day, with almost 3,000 lives lost and dozens of states prepared to wind back restrictions.
Staging an American comeback under the gaze of an American hero.
We are joined now by President Donald Trump.
A televised town hall inside the hallowed Lincoln Memorial with an opening salvo for China.
I think they made a horrible mistake and they didn't want to admit it. We wanted to go in. They didn't want us there.
A leaked Homeland Security report revealing US officials believe China intentionally concealed the severity of the pandemic in January to hoard medical supplies. The White House stepping up pressure over the source of the outbreak.
I can tell you that there is a significant amount of evidence that this came from that laboratory in Wuhan.
President Trump announcing an ambitious goal, saying he thinks a vaccine could be ready by the end of this year.
If it's another country, I'll take my hat off to them. We're working with other countries. We're working with Australia.
Until then, 32 governors are giving businesses the green light to trade.
With more and more states moving towards reopening, pressure is growing on local authorities to enforce social distancing. Here in New York, around 1,000 police officers are patrolling streets and parks to make sure people are following the rules.
Handing out masks so there's no excuse. In New York, Paul Kadak, 7 News.
A violent brawl has broken out on a flight in the US, forcing pilots to make an emergency landing. Video taken on board shows one passenger aggressively punching and swearing at another as witnesses try to break it up. The mid-air chaos was triggered when one traveller became annoyed by others making noise while they were trying to sleep. Jane Bunn joins us now for an early look at the weather. And Jane, hopefully we'll see some sunshine soon.
Oh, Mitch, it has been a long stretch of cold and wet that ended with today's grey skies. Patches of drizzle came from such low cloud you couldn't even see the tops of the city buildings. It was only 12 degrees at midday. Then a few sunny breaks in the early afternoon and it rise to 15. Since it started raining last Wednesday, this is how much we saw. The observations were very similar to what was forecast. Less in the northwest and East Gippsland and huge falls up on the ranges. The biggest total recorded was a whopping 262 millimetres. Benalla picked up 122. The biggest in Gippsland was Thorpedale, while the biggest near Melbourne was Scoresby with 91 millimetres. Now there's finally sunnier weather ahead. I'll have those details after sport, Mitch.
Good news indeed. Thank you, Jane. Next, see the moment a killer gave himself up to police. Also, cars returning to our roads despite the lockdown. Coming up, we've crunched the numbers to find exactly what's happening out there. Details live. Also, Westpac's staggering losses revealed as it battles a triple whammy. Why Europe is grappling with what they're calling coronaphobia. And take a look at how our restaurants and cafes are getting around lockdown rules.
Oh, wow.
Wow. One word
Wow.
Wow.
sums up this house.
I can't think of another word other than...
Like, wow.
They transformed this tired old monster
It is huge.
into the ultimate family home.
Heavens!
Oh.
But one room
My favourite room of the house.
will divide the competition.
If you two were working for me, you'd be out.
The owners might have loved the room.
Have a look at this.
But will you? A reveal like no other. House Rules. Tonight, 7:30 on 7.
Hello everyone, Dan and Steph back again with Emmy, and we are so happy to be working with Coles to support the Stephanie Alexander Kitchen Garden Foundation to inspire kids to get grubby in the kitchen and get cooking. And what a great week to get this kick-started off in the lead up to Mother's Day. And today we are going to be cooking eggplant parmesanas. What are we cooking?
Eggplant in pajamas.
Eggplant in pyjamas?
Eggplant in pyjamas. We need to go and pick our ingredients from the garden.
I've got one good one here.
Oh, I found one in there.
Is it big?
Big.
So we've got our eggplants and our basil. Let's head back in the kitchen. So we've got our veggies, guys, and we're back in the kitchen. We've got a little helper, Emmy, with us today. To start this recipe, we're actually going to dust these in flour and egg and fry them off.
Okay, let's get cracking, Emmy.
Beautiful.
Here we are, whisking up our eggs.
Okay, our next step, guys, we're going to slice up these eggplants. We want them about 1 centimetre thick. So next step, guys, we're going to dust the eggplants in flour, and then we're going to dip them in egg, and we're going to get them in the fryer. So pretty easy, we're just going to get all this eggplant in here. I've cut some little sections just for gap fillers.
All right, nearly finished flouring.
We're going to head over the stove and we're going to fry off our eggplant.
All right, let's go.
Can I put one in?
Doesn't take long, guys. We just want to brown that egg mix up. We're cruising along nicely. Thank you, Emmy. Okay, so our eggplant's been fried off. Now we're going to sprinkle of salt and we're going to layer this all up nice and neatly. So we've got some tomato sauce down. You want to put the tomato sauce in?
Good job.
Fill in all the gaps. So now we'll put the eggplants in. Next step, guys, we're going to get some cheese and some basil in there. Then we're going to get the eggplant back on. Then we're going to get sauce on top of that. We're nearly at the end. We're nearly about to put this in the oven. So we're just going to top it off with some more sauce and a good grating of Parmesan cheese. You're going to have nice salty richness on top.
Now it goes in the oven for about 20 to 30 minutes to golden up on top. And there you have it, guys. So simple and easy to make and so delicious. We really loved cooking in the kitchen with Emmy tonight, and we hope this inspires you to get into the kitchen with your kids. For the recipe, head to coles.com.au or the Kitchen Garden website. Enjoy our eggplant in pyjamas.
Enjoy eggplant pyjamas.
Let's go.
Enjoy our eggplant in pajamas. Woo!
A murderer asked police to arrest him after he strangled his girlfriend. Footage just released shows Shay Stewart approaching officers outside Flinders Street Station. Stewart was in a cannabis-induced psychosis and believed he was Jesus when he attacked the 31-year-old. His lawyer says he's deeply affected by the grief he caused Ms O'Brien's family. He will be sentenced later this month. Well, despite lockdown laws not being eased, thousands of drivers are returning to Melbourne roads. Melina Saris has been crunching the numbers, and Melina, our major roads have had some of the biggest jumps.
They have, Peter. The data shows the impact the restrictions have had on drivers. Traffic halved on our major roads after Stage 2 restrictions were introduced. But over the past 2 weeks, there has been a 15% rise in the number of cars on the road. Usually around 80,000 cars travel on Hoddle Street every day. That dropped to below 59,000 and has now climbed to almost 78,000 cars every day. More than 100,000 cars move along Alexandra Parade at Fitzroy North each day. That dropped to 50,000 but has now picked up to 67,000. Dandenong Road in Caulfield averages 95,000 cars. It dipped to 45,000 but now it's increased to almost 60,000. And on the Nepean Highway at Brighton, the usual number is 90,000. It dropped to 44,000, but it is now back up to almost 60,000 cars on the road every day.
Perhaps people are just eager to get life back to normal. However, it's important that we adhere to government's message to stay home and only undertake essential travel.
And it looks like those numbers are set to increase through the course of this week, Mitch.
You have been crunching the numbers. Thank you, Melina. Westpac has recorded its worst results in a decade, with profits plunging 70% in just 6 months. It's been hit with a triple whammy: interest rate cuts, a money laundering scandal and economic uncertainty due to the virus.
Last week, NAB and ANZ set the dismal scene for banks. Today, Westpac took centre stage.
We've never presented a result like this, with the challenges of low interest rates, COVID-19 and Westpac's own compliance issues.
First half cash profit tumbled 70% to $993 million, as the bank put aside an extra $1 billion to deal with anti-money laundering watchdog AUSTRAC and $1.6 billion for COVID-related bad debts. A decision on paying shareholders a dividend has been pushed back. Westpac says its own finances are strong, but the economy less so. 105,000 home loan accounts worth $39 billion and 31,000 business loans worth $8 billion have been put on hold.
Probably a weaker cycle in the property market, low demand for credit. It's a tough market for banks.
Westpac shares have taken a hiding since late February, when they were around $25. In just 10 weeks, they've slumped nearly 40%. Today, closing under $16.
And after the heavy backlash ME Bank faced for its decision to suddenly stop home loan borrowers taking money out of their redraw accounts, it's appealed to concerned customers to get in touch.
With banks preparing for more bad debts, they're likely to approve fewer loans.
For the average person, it's going to be tougher to get money from the banks.
Gemma Acton, 7 News.
Britain's government is grappling with how to overcome so-called coronaphobia. Many in the UK fear what will happen if their lockdown is lifted as restrictions are eased across Europe.
At the Cologne Cathedral, the faithful have returned for the first time in 7 weeks. A socially distant congregation and choir. And communion is served from behind a plastic screen. Germany slowly lifting its lockdown, as is Spain, where people are finally allowed outside. Different age groups have been allocated different times of the day.
Of course I'm happy, because I don't have to deal with my wife at home after 2 months.
Britons have been told the end of the lockdown is in sight, but the easing of restrictions will be gradual, with nearly 28,500 Britons killed by COVID-19.
A poll has found 4 out of 5 people believe British pubs and restaurants should stay closed, that it's just too early to allow them to reopen. Government advisors reportedly fear so-called coronaphobia could make restarting the economy here hard.
Businesses are being told hot desking will be curtailed, lifts can't be full, shift start times will have to be staggered, and people will be told to shop alone. But it's the usually crowded London Underground that's reportedly causing the most headaches for the government. Social distancing isn't always easy. In London, Hugh Whitfeld, 7 News.
Back home, and if you're missing eating out, you can now get the best seat in the house without leaving your car. Melbourne's famous Chapel Street is bringing dinner to drivers, serving it up straight through your window.
A new way to dine.
Hello guys! Wow!
In coronavirus times.
Here we are.
More than 150 Chapel Street eateries are now offering drive-by dining.
Enjoy guys, buon appetito!
To keep business afloat.
We get to have a little fine dining experience in my little car.
Customers can order online, then have food delivered to their car window. It'll reinvent date night for couples like Michelle and Jeremy. With so many cars off the road, the shopping strip is as quiet as ever, creating enough space for a drive-through experience. It's a first for Cafe e Cucina, which has been serving Italian food here for 33 years.
We had to come to arrangements with our suppliers and landlords to be able to keep ourselves in business.
Drive-in restaurants have been around in America for decades. Even today, it's a popular way to get a bite to eat. Struggling cafes and restaurants want customers to order direct and get food delivered to your car door rather than your front door.
Food delivery apps are charging these restaurants 30, sometimes a 35% commission.
We have preferred to keep it internal, to keep people in jobs.
Louisa Cheatley, 7 News.
Next, the bottom line on what we're doing with our money in the crisis. Also, interest rates facing a new test. They're already at record lows, but are they set to fall again? We'll get the latest next. Why William and Harry are worried about a new insight into their mother's life. See how a child was rescued from a shock snatch and grab by a monkey. And later, a special report on your refund rights as lawyers take on the airlines in the fight to get money back for cancelled flight.
You slept with my brother. You covered it up for 20 odd years. And my daughter might be his. You'll always be my daughter, no matter what.
What if he's not my dad?
Home and Away, coming up next on 7.
Dad, we might need to pick up some more bread.
Dad?
I'll pick some up.
Thanks. Now, more than ever, we know what families are going through. So this week, you can pick up Australian Cavendish bananas for just $2 a kilo. Find these and more great specials in our online catalogue. We want you to always get your Woolies worth.
That's why I pick Woolies.
Diane has loved her home for 25 years. Now it's helping fund her retirement while she lives in it. Terry and George's home funded their kitchen renovations. Bon appetit, Terry. The income Dave gets from his home equity lets him spend more time with his grandkids. The wealth you've built up in your home could fund the lifestyle you want. What are you doing with your household capital? Call 1300 622 100.
The MS Dream Home Lottery is already over 50% sold. Because how many can win a $1.5 million grand prize? Don't care. That's right. Hurry and get your tickets today.
It's tax time. Stimulate your business now. Check your business's eligibility for the government instant asset write-off. Purchases made before June 30. The Ram 1500 pickup truck eats utes for breakfast.
The Australian government is working hard to keep businesses in business and Australians in jobs. That's why we've introduced the JobKeeper payment. If you're a business severely impacted by the coronavirus, you'll receive a fortnightly payment of $1,500 for each eligible employee to cover their wages. For employees, it will allow millions of Australians to keep their job, including those who've been stood down. To find out more, visit australia.gov.au, authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Okay, let's start something. Let's learn. Let's ponder. Let's do a degree and study online. Let's learn with the experts so there's less of this and more of this. Let's hit the books. Let's collaborate, caffeinate. Okay, now let's create. Let's make the grade. Let's start today. Let's do this with Swinburne Online.
The Reserve Bank is meeting tomorrow to decide whether to cut the official interest rate even further than the current record low. Network Finance Editor Gemma Acton joins us now. And Gemma, could it go down to 0%?
Well, Peter, never say never, but the Reserve Bank has made it very clear it doesn't want to cut interest rates below the current level of 0.25%. Most economists actually think the next move will be up, but not for at least 2 years and quite possibly longer, given that we're headed into a recession. Peter.
Finance Editor Gemma Acton reporting. As the government's $750 stimulus handout evaporates and unemployment bites, Australians are tightening their belts. A new survey suggests overall consumer spending is down 20%, with shoppers reluctant to splurge, except maybe on their best friends.
At Pets Palace, no wonder they're dancing for joy. Family companions enjoying a rise in spending.
We are finding a lot of people indulging in their pets.
Pet care expenditure up 8%, maybe from more time with them at home and on walks.
Some cases, we have seen 1 or 2 cases where people take their cats out for a walk like a dog with a leash.
But it's out of step with sliding confidence.
A huge fall in spending, with spending per person now 20% below normal levels.
Latest data shows spending down most for gyms and fitness, entertainment, public transport and travel. The biggest improvers, food delivery, up a whopping 156%, followed by furniture and office equipment, online gambling and home improvement. But experts say the effect of the stimulus is fading. Maybe not when it comes to a new toy for the family pet, but tracking of spending shows that Australians are trading down on the hunt for discounts. More than a third of grocery shoppers switching to cheaper outlets, and big falls in applications for credit, personal loans and credit cards.
I think it's dawning on Australians that the end of the restrictions doesn't mean the end of the crisis.
And they're hunkering down with their best friends. Chris Marr, 7 News.
There's new hope for would-be holidaymakers who've had to cancel their plans due to the virus shutdown. Travellers left short-changed have been told to accept travel vouchers, but there is another alternative. There's a new push to get full refunds. We'll tell you how it works after sports. A brazen monkey, has snatched a young girl before dragging her along a brick road in Indonesia. The animal rode up on what appeared to be a toy motorbike and grabbed her from her seat, roughly pulling her to the ground.
Hey, mas! Hey!
Eventually, it let go and the scared youngster, toddled back to her family. Princess Diana will be the subject of a controversial new documentary. Being Me, Diana will delve into explosive claims of her mental health battles, eating disorders and unhappy marriage. The Netflix project is reportedly causing concern for her sons, William and Harry. It's unclear whether the documentary will affect Prince Harry and Meghan's plans to work with the streaming giant. Sports next with Tim Watson and Nathan Buckley has raised some concerns.
That's right, Mitch. Your favourite coach is worried about the timing of the footy restart, fearing some of his players are in for a rough ride. Why Seb Ross is smiling again. We go one-on-one with the Saints vice-captain. Strict biosecurity measures as the Storm head for the border, and we'll tell you why Formula One heads to the beach.
Truck. It's not the end of the world.
What the truck?
It's the brand new season of Outback Truckers.
And it's our wildest adventures yet.
Tuesday 8:30.
You truckheads are gonna love it.
And that's not all.
They're bringing along their brand new mates. Meet the Aussie Desert Collectors.
You won't believe the treasures that we unearth in the middle of the desert. Magic.
It's good fun for the whole trucking family.
Tuesday from 8:30 on May.
Guys, we've got another jackpot winner.
Ozlotto, will your numbers bring you a truckload of cash this Tuesday?
Play now in-store at thelot.com or on the Lot app.
Years of relentless improvement have led to pioneering Dyson technology, now re-engineered into a bigger format for faster deep cleaning. Only a Dyson works like a Dyson.
Beat the cold at Harvey Norman with the best in heating and air treatment solutions. Stay warm this winter with our range of ceramic, radiant and fan heaters, convection, column and panel heaters, the latest in gas and electric flame effect models, heated throws and electric blankets, plus a huge range of reverse cycle air conditioners. Treat the air quality in your home with everything from air purifiers to humidifiers. Harvey Norman has all the big brands at great prices. Visit us in store or online. Harvey Norman, your heating and air treatment specialist.
Go! Unlike most modems,
Telstra's smart modem is cleverly backed up by Australia's best 4G network. So if the connection to your house stops, your home Wi-Fi won't. Giving you Australia's most reliable home Wi-Fi. To experience better Wi-Fi, visit telstra.com today.
My perfect bowl is with Mum, of course.
Dad, can you give me some?
Tell me what you think. If I didn't share it with my mum, it would not be my perfect bowl.
Oh.
The stylish Haval H2, a globally engineered, European-designed and feature-packed SUV. From just $22,990 drive away. Haval H2 Auto. New car thinking.
For stepping up in tough times. For doing the little things. For keeping your distance. And your sense of humour. For the courage you've shown. And protecting your community. Thanks, Australia. The changes to stop the coronavirus aren't easy, but they're working. Keep going. And don't forget to download the COVID Safe app today. Together, we're stopping the spread. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Welcome back. Nathan Buckley has expressed his concerns on players getting injured when footy returns. Tom Brown has the latest. And Tom, this could cause friction between the AFL and the clubs.
It could, Tim, if it leads to injuries. The length of the pre-season is a delicate balance for the AFL. Players have been surveyed last week. They think 3 weeks is enough, but warning players could break down. Nathan Buckley thinks it should be at least 3 weeks, the pre-season minimum.
If you don't get that much work into the players, you're basically asking for them to break down when they come back. I'd be advocating a minimum of 3 weeks of full training in some shape or form, and a couple of weeks of training in groups of 10 prior to that.
And Tim, last week, why the Players Association warned players on a 21-week isolation hub is footy's version of who done it. People on footy's war cabinet say they never heard of 21 weeks floated. The Players Association claimed they just passed on what the AFL told them. The captains were the ones that sought clarification from Gil McLachlan on a phone call, a Zoom call on Friday. And moving forward, captains could have a far bigger influence on the Players Association.
Last week, the portrayal that they were going to go to a 21-week hub and be locked up that was promulgated by Paul Marsh at the AFL Players Association has led to a situation now, Das, where the captains have intervened. The captains now want to be involved in everything going forward. Yep.
After all the confusions, hubs now highly, highly unlikely. Tim?
Thanks, Tom. St Kilda Vice-Captain Seb Ross concedes round one without crowds wasn't enjoyable. The Saints star knows he'll have to get used to empty stadiums, but says, if anything, the pandemic has reinforced to players how vital fans are to making the game fun.
Seb Ross's 17-month-old daughter, Charlotte, doesn't even want her dad to leave her outside the cubby house.
Oh, it's okay.
So you can imagine how the young family reacted to interstate hubs.
For us and our family, it caused a little bit of angst.
With the AFL now exploring fly-in, fly-out scenarios, the Ross family is breathing a little easier.
That's a much better outcome.
He's desperate to play again, but admits round one with no crowds wasn't fun.
It's not something I enjoyed. To be honest, it was a really strange and weird feeling before, during and after the game, just not having the crowds there.
But he accepts empty stands for the time being are the only safe option.
It sort of reinforced to me how important our fans and our supporters are.
Concussion-plagued forward Paddy McCartan is eyeing an AFL return, and Ross believes he can make it.
He's a pretty professional kid, so I think as long as he sets his mind to it and that's what he wants to do, I think he can get there.
And the St Kilda Football Club is calling on all of its fans to pledge their allegiance and wear their Saints colours with pride this Friday.
Really need them to support the boys in the footy club and wear their Saints colours and put the scarves out on the letterbox.
The celebration marks 123 years since the Saints' first VFL game. Sean Sowerby, 7 News.
The Victorian Government has denied Melbourne Storm the ability to train at home, forcing them north of the border. From tomorrow, they'll set up camp in Albury.
This morning's biosecurity briefing had the boss on edge.
Probably my one concern around
social distancing this morning was, these guys get on so well together.
Players filed into club headquarters this morning for an education session. Cameron Smith looking like he'd been locked up for months.
We're not leaving anything unspared.
Still feels weird. The whole thing was obviously being really weird.
This is where they'll stay in Albury, and this is where they'll train. No tackling, no wrestling, and sticking to groups of 10 or less, all locked off to the public.
The gates will be locked. We have to operate under what's called green zones. We've got separate facilities for the hotel, for the gym and for our field.
Just like this morning, they'll be temperature tested before training, a reading over 37.5 degrees, and they're off for isolation.
Provided that they pass that and they clear that, then they're able to head through to the green zones.
Their first run will be Wednesday. Craig Bellamy says it's just like returning for pre-season.
You'll have some guys that have done a really good job and be in really good shape, and there'll be a couple that probably haven't done the amount of work that they should have.
Just how long they're in camp depends on authorities. Tim Hipsley, 7 News.
Marnus Labuschagne says he'd accept the call to ban the use of saliva to shine the cricket ball. Cricket Australia is working with health authorities to determine if they'll have to stop the age-old practice if matches are played this summer.
It will be slightly strange, when you're on the field. It's so natural, if you're one of the ball shiners, to get the ball and put a little bit of saliva on your finger and try and buff out some of the rough areas on the ball.
The possibility of using an artificial substance is still being considered. The stars of Formula One are still coming to grips with video game racing, judging by the start of this morning's virtual Dutch Grand Prix.
And away we go in Brazil with a spin immediately for Van Dorn, who's trying to hold it together, but he can't. And he's heading backwards. It's Alex Albon who goes into the lead.
The Red Bull team has released a special video to mark what should have been the return of the first Dutch Grand Prix in 35 years this weekend. Mitch, a case of tiptoe through the tulips.
Good commentary there too. Thank you, Tim. Airlines, travel agents and tour operators are accused of shortchanging tens of thousands of Australians who had to cancel holidays. A top law firm is now considering a class action and is calling for affected customers to come forward.
Travel providers put on notice, accused of breaching their legal obligations to customers grounded by COVID-19.
We're looking at the options for people to seek to recover their money by way of a class action that we can bring on their behalf.
Ashley Schofield was meant to fly to Germany next week, now left with a voucher from travel agent Aunt Betty worth $1,000 less than what she paid in flights.
With the credit voucher that they've given us, we aren't able to use it because it runs out in October this year.
Slater and Gordon claims she's not alone, among tens of thousands of Australians convinced to accept vouchers when they were entitled to and would have been better off with a full refund.
In other instances, we've seen airlines and travel agencies relying on their no refund clauses, which they've been warned in the past don't apply to all situations.
Virgin customers won't be able to join the legal fight, their case made more complex after the airline went into administration. Qantas and Jetstar are automatically providing vouchers, but say if customers would prefer a full cash refund, we are providing it, adding vouchers can be used until the end of 2021. Often it comes down to the terms and conditions, meaning it always pays to read the fine print. Rosanna Kingson, 7 News.
Jane is next with the forecast. And Jane, how does it look tomorrow?
Well, Mitch, I hope you're ready for sunshine, as we'll have lots of it tomorrow. But it does start foggy. The details are next.
Tonight on the latest from 7 News, inside COVID HQ, what's likely to come from tomorrow's cabinet meeting? Could more restrictions be eased before Friday? The future of domestic and international travel, a leading expert tells us how holidays will be different beyond COVID. Those stories and every breaking development tonight on the latest from 7 News at 10 p.m.
You're right there for every heart-pounding emergency.
That's the biggest damn fire I've seen.
New 911, tonight on 7.
1, 2, 3, 4. So clap it back. Hey, clap, clap. So clap it back. Hey, I'm getting you right back. 'Cause you're not gonna stand around living like that. So
Centrum provides multiple health benefits in just one tablet. Centrum, complete from A to Zinc.
I want you on my side, and I want you to help me take him down once and for all.
Would I do absolutely anything to survive? Yes.
Be greedy. Be hungry.
He's not capable of alliance, only destruction.
I am a monster.
All systems have to die eventually.
The brand new season of Billions, now streaming only on Stan.
Advocate protects against more parasites than any other treatment. So your pet is free to dream. Advocate, so everyone can rest easy.
At Rapid Tune, we'll keep you moving with our range of services, from brakes, shocks, electricals and all your general mechanical repairs under the one roof.
We perform all the vehicle services that you need to protect your new car warranty, as well as any mechanical repairs. Every Rapid Tune outlet is also a licensed air conditioning specialist.
We stock a range of tyres from the best brands at competitive prices, as well as balancing and wheel alignments using the latest state-of-the-art equipment.
Book online today at rapidtune.com.au.
Rapid Tune, we'll keep you moving.
Right now, lives like Eva's still depend on regular blood donations. To her, they'll always be an essential service, which is why Lifeblood donor centres are safe and still open. If you're feeling well, book a donation today.
You can open it now. Happy Mother's Day!
Oh, thanks, love. Look what Amy got me.
Be Mum's instant favourite with Instant Scratchits.
Have you two muted?
Budget Direct donated this 30-second ad to Lifeline. Because every 30 seconds, someone in crisis calls Lifeline. Which means now, more than ever, they need people at the other end of the line. So please, give what you can at lifeline.org.au. Because for people in crisis, every second counts.
Want to sell something for instant cash? We're open. Looking to buy from a huge range of quality second-hand goods for less? We're open. Cash Converters. Find us online or visit us in store.
You slept with my brother. You covered it up for 20-odd years. And my daughter might be his. He'll always be my daughter, no matter what.
What if he's not my dad?
Home and Away, coming up next on 7.
Hello again. The cloud was so low in the drizzle this morning you couldn't see the tops of the city buildings. But there were sunny breaks too, and some of these produced a very vivid rainbow down the coast. One of those breaks was over the city early afternoon, where we reached our top of 15 degrees. That cloud stretched across southern Victoria. There are patches of cloud in the north, but generally it's been quite a sunny day. Sunny but cool as the wind is a light southerly. This is the very end of our cold weather outbreak, where the biggest rainfall total was 262 millimetres. There is still minor flooding in these rivers we have here, including this park in Wangaratta. Bike paths along the Yarra are also affected. Sunshine follows the rain and snow up in the Alps. You could really see just how much snow is up there under the blue sky today. It'll take a while to melt and there's more due this weekend. High pressure works to calm the wind and settle the weather, and a big one of those is moving in. It is Perth's turn for days of wet weather as another front hits them tomorrow. So we enter a stretch of dry conditions lasting for Tuesday and Wednesday. Sunshine returns. It should be lovely after the fog clears. The front we saw peaks over Perth, so by the time it gets here on Thursday, it is weak and just slides on through. Showers don't make it past the southwest or eastern ranges. But that paves the way for a stronger front later on Friday. A band of showers, cold enough for alpine snow at the end, bringing us another chilly Saturday. Then another front hits later on Sunday. Around the nation tomorrow, just a bit of rain on the eastern fringe. All the wet weather is over in the southwest corner. So Perth has showers and gusty storms developing. Brisbane, the city, is inland, so doesn't get the coastal showers. But Sydney CBD has showers passing through. To Victoria, the areas of fog in the morning, they could be quite widespread, and it's cold enough for frost near the eastern ranges. Then it is pleasant. We've got a sunny and cool to mild day with light winds tending northerly. Closer inland, once the cold fog clears, it's a beautiful autumn day. We've got bright sunshine and light winds that'll let temperatures rise. The city starts cold with fog likely. It's a low of 7, then sunny and reaching 19. Lovely. To the 8-day outlook, it is 19 on Wednesday to mostly sunny, but we'll have a moderate northerly wind. On Thursday, jumping up to 21. That could be our last one for a while. Cloud builds later in the day, but it should stay dry. On Friday, back down to 18 as the wind turns southwesterly. Showers develop in southwestern suburbs on Friday night. Then they really come through during the day on Saturday. So yes, this is another Saturday with a cold and gusty wind and showers passing through. It dries up on Sunday morning ahead of late showers. They'll last into Monday, then more come in on Tuesday. So we could wake up to an eerie sight with fog, but lovely once it clears. Sunny and 19, Mitch.
A lovely Tuesday. Thank you very much indeed, Jane. And that's the way it is this Monday. May the 4th be with you. Thanks for your company. We'll have updates later. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.